Okay, welcome to Flavour Flavors Season 3, Episode 5. I was just giving the girls a little update about, we're kind of in transition. Alex is coming in every second day, partly to ease him back into the system, and then me just because I've been working solo for so long that all of a sudden now I've got this other person going, what do you need me to do now? What do you now? Do you have 2 seconds? Can you come look at this? So I need to have like a couple of days a week where he's just not here so I can do my own thing, right? Because he's like I am, like he wants to talk through stuff, right? Like he's putting wine on the shelves and stuff. And he says, well, what if I put this here and then I move that one over here? And then if I put these ones in the cooler, I'm like, whatever. Like I'm busy cooking my 5-kilo box of bacon right now. it needs all of my attention. I don't have time to figure that out. So that's like every second day. And then, so we're going to go room by room and kind of clean and reorganize. And then because we're going into a takeout format, which kind of ties into last episode, we're going to finally go back into takeout probably in a couple weeks. I need another, I don't want to rush into it. Like I found, like even back when I was originally going to open, like I was sort of hesitating. And this time it's because I want to make sure that I have it streamlined and the process down. So like I spend a couple hours every morning putting stuff, like all the wine inventory is done. That's all gone on the website. So that's ready to go. So all I have to do, I want to be able to just flick a switch and all of a sudden the online ordering stuff is ready to go. We have all our fridges and freezer stuff here, menus done, right? We have all that kind of stuff done. And then I can let the rest of the staff know. Stacy, I know I already told Alex, I said, Stacy's already been asking when she can buy wine. And he goes, you did tell her that she has to order food with the wine, eh? And he goes, and I said, yeah, she's going to have fries. She's going to have just fries and wine.
Butternut Chardonnay and a little bit of sparkling wine. Yeah, I got my order. It's like, do we have to order like one piece of food for every bottle of wine we want to order?
I don't think there was exact ratios, but it's but I think it's just a matter of like they just don't want people coming in and ordering wine and buying it as it is, right? Then I had to play around with pricing and then anything, because I mean the whole idea is if I wanted to incentivize people to buy wine when they're ordering food, or if there's wines that I have that you can't get at the LCBO, that's fine. Or if someone comes in to pick up a takeout order and they see up on the board on their shelf like, hey, what's that wine? And if they want to grab it to go, they can do that too. So we're said, and then we got to figure out like I bought like more of the wine shopping bags and then other takeout bags, and there's new takeout containers, so that I have the flexibility now of doing other menu items as I need to, or if it's just going to be, hey, we're doing this for a week. And Alex has already been talking to his friends about really cool, almost like combo specials, where just for 1 week we're going to do this one menu item, but it's going to be packaged with the wine. In other words, you don't just get the food or you just get the wine. It's going to be, here's the deal, right? So I think it's kind of funny. Alex is playing video games with his friends and they're discussing like marketing strategies for the bar. It's like, okay, whatever. So I mean, yeah, it'll be good when it gets going, but I'm just doing I'm cooking bacon, right? I'm going through the freezer and cleaning that out. I actually ordered another freezer yesterday.
Nice.
And it's only because I have one chest freezer is nothing but bread. And I'm always stressed about, like, it takes up so much space for, like, I mean, you say cost per square inch, right? It takes up so much space that I had to order another one, and I found a place to plug it in because that was the issue. So now I have one more. So now I can do more things in advance, right? Like I made mango chutney today, and I can have it all in the freezer ready to go that I can just pull when I need it. So that's so this way I'm not racing around, because I think we're going to do it gradually where it'll be just Alex and I. We'll start off with like reduce so many hours a week that will be open, and then we'll sort of quickly make it faster, like get it a little busier. And then if I think it gets busy enough that I need one extra person, we'll bring one extra staff person in. So we're going to kind of gradually grow it as opposed to this big open door. Because I just found out today, it's a good tie-in. I guess the premier was freaking everybody out, saying that he was going to make announcements tomorrow, which is the May 14th, because depending on when people listen to this. And he was saying, no, he's going to announce what the new stages are. He's not necessarily it's going to start tomorrow. So I think
I read the new stages, and the impact is really low, and there's absolutely no date anywhere on it saying that there is no set date for any of the stages.
Correct.
This is just how it's going to roll out.
But the emergency,
and even the first stage really doesn't impact people to a whole, unless, say, for example, you were to host a memorial service in your space. That you could do starting in the new stage, because they're allowing people to gather in groups for funerals. So for essential things.
Oh yeah, well that's going to have a really good definition.
Right? Well, and that's the other thing. That's exactly it.
Because, I mean, I'm going to get calls and saying, well, would you, I mean, just people don't understand the legalities of things. So an example, Denise, next door at Huckleberry's, messaged me today saying that she got someone called her to do a special order for an anniversary gift. And she was wondering, she goes, so you have wine to put in with that, right? And she goes, no, like she's a chocolatier. Like, why would she just assume that she had wine? And she said, and then she was saying that she goes, well, you could just get something at the LCBO. She goes, well, I just only wanted to go out of the house once. Like, I only wanted to make one stop. But again, you're talking a chocolate maker to make you this custom thing, and she's wanted the wine. So then she says, well, I could always ask next door, meaning me. She goes, I don't think she's open, but I could ask her. Oh, that would be really handy if she would do that for me. So anyway, I talked to her. I said, no, I'm not going to go and start opening up because she has to buy food for me to legally sell her the wine. You don't have a liquor license. And she's just being lazy. Yeah. Where there's seriously an LCBO like 2 minutes from here that she could actually stop in.
Online if you don't want to leave again. I ordered my last order online.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, it's just But anyways, that's what I meant by people aren't aware of a lot of the legalities around how businesses operate to start off with. And even with the, I don't know whether they're going to start with like reduced for in dining by the time they start doing dine-in. I toyed around. I was talking to one of the restaurants down the street, the owner today, and he was debating whether he's even going to take the chance and open up his patio.
Yeah.
Because it's not a licensed patio, but he said, as much as I was going to do it, I have to go through all the steps. He goes, then I have to start paying the city per month. They'll start invoicing me, or I have to pay for the season. And then what if we get shut down after a month?
Right. I can't believe the city charges them for that. Don't get me started.
Oh, I know. That's what he asked. He actually even asked them. He said, why don't you just give us this summer for free? Because we don't know how things are going to work, right? Because it's just like fees. It's like $1 something a square foot or whatever it is. Like, it's nothing crazy, but it's like, if it's not that much money, then just skip it for a year. But anyways.
When I see the initiatives that some like cities and provincial business associations, like I said, so like regional business development corporations and that kind of stuff, the things they're doing for the people in their member cities are mind-blowing. Like, I was talking to one city in Ontario, and they're paying all of the, like, say, Uber Eats. Mm-hmm. They're paying all of the Uber Eats fees for all of their member restaurants.
Oh.
So let's say, it was downtown Sudbury, and I ordered Uber Eats from you, and then from, like, say, Respect is Burning.
That's almost a third.
The city is paying the fees. Like, I was so excited to hear initiatives like that. Like, we were talking earlier before we started filming about what my work is. And to hear something like that, I'm like, our city would never, ever allocate funds. I mean, they can't afford to fix our roads. So that's a whole other thing. But, but it's just like, to hear things like that, like, they can't even help the businesses by saving them $100 a year. Like,
but I think, but I can see on the political side, because we have such a large council, and because they tend to fight over everything anyways, like most councils do, unless there's always going to be somebody who does not do the delivery stuff that's going to say, well, if you're giving money to them for this, what am I getting? Right? I feel like it's going to be this snowball effect.
Then you should start using that, and you can take advantage of that as well.
No, but I mean, what if the business is not even, I know, but what if the business is not even doing something like it's a delivery thing, right? So, and I don't know, it could just be this whole thing like, well, I have my own delivery driver because we have a specialty thing where you're going to give me money to go towards my delivery stuff. Like, there's always these things. Oh, and speaking of, there's a good news thing. It ties into that. So it was announced today, and it said it might even be finalized as long as they get through the loopholes in the States. Uber and Grubhub might be combining. So there's a lot of businesses. I just retweeted it because my thought would be, I was talking to Robin last week, and she had a really great quote about all these business opportunities, and she said, "You never let a good crisis go to waste." So I'm thinking like Uber's saying, as opposed to me bothering with just Uber Eats, right? There's so many of those platforms out there. I guess they figured out, screw it. Like, we're just going to add another platform that's already got their customer base, and we're going to merge, right? So it looks like Uber's looking to buy Grubhub now. So there's that.
Speaking of that, I wanted to, I guess it's almost shout out, but I also want to mention this to Steph because it's similar to the kind of things that you're doing. Alinea is a fancy restaurant. I say fancy. It's a well-known
Chicago,
high prestigious restaurant in Chicago.
Yep.
And I read an article on, I guess, Granta Schatz is the owner / executive chef, sharing how they had taken their gourmet kind of menu and made it into a takeout format, but preserving a lot of like the quality and the style that they do and some of the innovation that they've done. And then the video that I watched was about their 15th anniversary, where they had this big plan for a 6-course kind of degustation, and they decided to make it takeout. And the cool things they did and how they, their dessert is like all spread on a table typically. And so they actually showed, sent a video to everyone who bought it with how to plate it and have some fun with it. And so it was like taking the gourmet experience at home, and they worried about whether they should be sharing, it's almost proprietary because it's their signature dish. But I thought it was so cool that this restaurant had really shifted and I moved in a new direction. And they were saying they're probably not going to let that go when they reopen again. That this has now become a new kind of niche that they're going to continue in some capacity. But just the creative, innovative ways restaurants are able to find ways to keep going. Now, again, they're not making the same money they were before, but they're still at least floating their expenses and that kind of stuff. So it was pretty cool. So I thought it was a really good example of someone who you would think with their business model, there's no chance that something like a takeout would work for them, and they managed to make it quite successful for them.
And I think that's where the changes are going to happen. I was reading another good article today. I think there's going to be this big divide, right? Where there's so many people who are low on funds, do not have the money to be able to go out as often as they used to, or go out for dinners as often as they used to, or buy lunch every day and all that kind of thing. So there's going to be this low income side of things where they're going to look for bargain hunting, blah, blah, blah. That's where they're just going to be ordering and skip the dishes, whatever. That between home cooking. And then you're going to have this other extreme, which are the people who have the money and the means, who have had not only not really had much of an issue during this whole COVID thing because they're professionals or whatever and can easily work from home. They have the income to do so. They probably worked all the way through. The other new trend is going to be is that because they're going to want something better than, as they usually do, right? They always want to be one step above something, and it's going to be private dining is going to come back. Right?
I think
So, and then I started thinking, like, how can I kind of incorporate that? Because I've been putting it off here for the longest time, because it always snowballs into something that I didn't want to do, or you get bullied into something you don't want to do, or they promise you it's going to be so many people with a certain invoice amount with this, and then it's canceled at the last minute. Like, there's always these hiccups or menu changes at the last minute. It's going to bring me back to my old catering days, which is like a nightmare in my mind right now. And I know I can probably get a lot of business that way, going back to that little place that I used to be in, but I don't know if I really want to do that. But that's what they said it's going to happen, is that because as soon as all the restaurants open, the experience and the being able to spend the big money and the big show and taking people out for dinner, you're not going to necessarily do it anymore, and it's not going to be the same with people wearing masks and plastic dividers and plastic gloves. And some of the states were even talking about making restaurants use disposable dishes and things like that, right? It's like the whole concept is going to be gone, right? If someone tells me I have to pour my wine in plastic glasses, I'm going to be pissed.
So here comes my what the actual fuck moment.
Okay.
Can we just think for a second? We have no business being professionals in the hospitality industry telling people in the health industry how to deal with certain things.
Correct.
Get your fucking hands out of certain things, because, and like, there's a reason why you have a high temperature dishwasher in your facility.
That I'm paying through the nose for every month.
You have 10,000 steps for every dish that comes through your place. Like, those things are put in place already. It's not like you serve people freaking dishes that we licked in the back and put back on the table. I mean, sometimes we might want to, but like, it's like, that's not a thing. You already have people overseeing that and making sure that things are sanitized. You have inspections, maybe do more inspections, that's fine. But telling people to go to disposable, fuck, they took away my plastic straws 2 years ago.
I know, weren't we just laughing about that, about all these environmentally friendly things that were gone and now they want you to bring it back? The fact that I even had to go and look up and try to buy disposables to have here on hand for a couple of weeks, it was bringing me back. I was starting to get flushed thinking, I'm not doing catering trays, right? But it was interesting is that a big company, as an example, like Uline, because there's so many people going into disposables and now getting takeout that they never did, unless you were already buying certain disposable products, and because they're limited in how much they have and on hand, I could not order wrapped plastic cutlery. I could not order, there was certain things because they only have so many in stock, that unless you were already a customer who was already ordering it, it says you've never ordered this before, we have to save some for our regular customers. So I'm like, oh, okay, so now I gotta go and find other ones.
Did I tell you how I got my sanitizing wipes?
When?
Did I ever tell you guys that story?
Oh.
So we still can't get Lysol wipes at most of our grocery stores and whatever else. Do you have some?
Okay.
Nope.
Oh my God.
Do you need them?
I found a bin here in my studio when I was cleaning it out, and it's full of hand sanitizer. I'm like, oh my God, it's like thousands of dollars in my little box. But no.
Sell it.
No, we're going to use it and share it if anybody needs some. So yeah. But I ended up on a dental supply company website. It was like completely random. That came up through Google when I was looking for sanitizing wipes. And I read through like all the information on it, whatever. And it was still, I think it cost me $30 or $40 for 200 wipes. It was reasonable. It wasn't super cheap, but it wasn't super expensive. And I thought, well, I don't know who these people are. Maybe they're ripping me off. I have no idea. I've got a visa, so I can cancel if I never get it. And a week and a half later, I got this thing, and they were like medical grade sanitizing wipes. So they weren't very big, which was the only maybe complaint. But I was able to get what I needed, because a lot of places, like even like with having a business and we can get, wholesale accounts or buyer accounts or whatever, that's like same thing. If you didn't already order these things from us, we're not going to sell it to you, so don't even try. So it's interesting how when you get creative or you just are willing to just try something new, which I know Steph's always willing to do, it was interesting what we were able to find.
Yeah, there's always things. It's just a matter of what you want your end result to be, what the product needs to be, what the bare minimums have to be. Like there's just too much to, anyway, it's hurting my head. Okay, let's go on to travel. There's a couple of things, and I'm glad that Stacy could be on this call, or else this would have been Cynthia and I talking about hotels.
I just said to you guys when we came on, I'm like, so Cynthia's extent of travel during COVID is that we can't, and they canceled all my dance competitions. So that's all I know.
Well, let's start. Okay, so before I go through all the little facts of things that I found online, I'll update my situation, and Stacy can pop in and tell me what I should be doing. So I'm at a standstill. So my Airbnbs, I had already changed the dates, and my hosts had already accepted my change of dates. That was like when this thing first started, because I had a funny feeling that June would be pushing it. So I was supposed to be gone middle of June. So I moved it to middle of August. So middle 18th, something like that. So I got all those dates moved, so that was fine. The only thing I didn't change was my flights. So for the first little while, I went to go and check on the airline stuff, and they didn't have anything printed or any discussions about it. I went through a lot of, even like magazines had links with all these different websites, and then so I can go through. I was basically just Googling like, hey, what do I do with this? What do I do with that? And there wasn't anything for a while. And then I found something yesterday. It's a good resource. I'll put it in the show notes. It is TripAdvisor has a cool little link. And Stacy, you'll like this link. So it's for TripAdvisor. Every airline when you click on it, it goes directly to their change and cancellation policies.
Nice.
So you can just scroll to the airline that you need to deal with, and bing, you're right there. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I wanted, as opposed to fighting, because a lot of these airlines, as much as they have their own websites and everything else, getting through them is just a bit of a nightmare. So anyways, now my problem is, I told Norm, and we have to call. I don't know how, yeah, anyways, we got to call and see if we're going to change. So my big gamble is, do I change my flight to the August dates and take a chance that I'll be able to go to France and Germany? Or do I just, at the time, try to get a voucher for the flight? Because I think it says it'll give me a voucher, and then cancel the Airbnb. And for those who are on the audio, the girls are both nodding at me. And then cancel my Airbnb stuff for August and take the chance and worry about it maybe next year.
Input on that one, Steph, is that from my company, we're getting comments every now and then sent by email, because for COVID, if you've booked, and I sent you a link which will be sent into our show notes as well. It's the TICO, which is our legislation for travel agents. It's how we got our certification. Mm-hmm. And it's answering all the questions that people have been talking about. Like, I bought a trip, I did this, how do I get it back? But in specifics about air flights in August, I don't think our borders are going to be open. Some people are saying that, I actually kept looking today after I sent that to you. There's some blogs out there, and there's some travel information about New Zealand, Australia. They're going to close their borders approximately for 12 months as it stands for incoming and outcoming flights.
Wow.
That's the standard at this stage. But the thing is, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's what the travel industry is saying certain countries are doing, because they are able to. Because if you look at Australia, they are one, like, by themselves. You look at New Zealand, kind of the same. And the thing is that at the end of the day, if you can do it, do it. And it holds everything off. But in terms of that, I would push it off even further. Or take a voucher if you can.
Okay, because the Airbnb is not an issue, because I think I can just cancel, get a refund, and be done with it.
Yeah.
So I can do that. Hey, get some little cash backs and kind of pay a deposit on those. And then I guess, so do I take because I think I didn't have an option for a cash refund. I think it was I either get a voucher, or it was a voucher, or there was a free change. So I think if I just take the voucher and then worry about booking the flight later, as long as there's no expiry date. Do you think those vouchers are going to have like crazy expiry dates where you got to use it within 12 months?
No, not in this case. There's going to be an exception made, I believe. And from what I've received in emails on my work account for travel, even all-inclusive bookings, wedding bookings, all of that, people are given the voucher. And it's honored at that price, so that when you book, you don't have to pay an up fee. You don't have to worry about costs. You just book. And that's the key. And I think that's how the travel industry is honoring it. Because, I mean, there were stats saying that when you look at an industry, travel's mega in the sense of it was increasing. Now, this is 2019, 2020, previous to COVID hitting. The industry itself was growing at a higher rate than the global economy was. So this is massive when you're thinking about it. They're not going to want to, do things that don't affect it. They want to make sure that they still need to make that happen. There are travel agents out there, and I'm one of them. I do this on the side from another position that I do, but you don't get paid commission until that flight leaves Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, wherever. So those vouchers hold up our last at least a year and a half. And I think that people that are in wedding planning and a wedding staff can understand.
I hear you, my friend.
Yeah.
We're all.
So it's sort of like I've got this chunk sitting there waiting for these people to go back and say, okay, I'm going to go February 2021. Cool. That's my $75 or $80 or $100. If it's a wedding, it's like a couple thousand, right? Or if it's a cruise, it's more than that. And you sit there and you think about it. Our industry really drives a lot of the industries. So, I mean, push off if you can with the voucher as far as you can. and be safe, because I was looking again before we actually got on. What is travel going to look like after all of this? Is it going to be very different in terms of getting on a flight? Are flights going to be full anymore? I don't think so. Until there's actually the safety of a vaccine out there, I don't think things are going to be going as much as we want them to, right? As travelers, I know I have the itch already. I've been looking at an all-inclusive already for like next year, or a trip to like Northern Europe on a cruise. And I've already been looking, and I'm like, wait, I want to go in November, but it's not going to happen.
No.
Because it's not going to happen because I'll go in February or March of next year. But even then, who's to say that that's going to be okay? What if we end up with a second and third and fourth wave, right? Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know how this is going to play out. It could take up over a year before we end up with those safety nets that the government is saying that they're going to create. We don't know. And I mean, to circle back, that was long-winded, but
No.
push out your flight.
Okay. All right.
And I would
You're not allowed to go anywhere if I can't go anywhere. Deal?
I'll meet you wherever you're going. How about that?
Okay, that sounds good.
Well, and that's the thing with industries like that. Like, that's a lot of things that people aren't taking into account, that travel agents and, people who work in airlines and in tourism and that kind of thing. Like, even with us for weddings and in the wedding industry, we're certainly taking it hard on the chin. And it's not like we can make it up next year, because by moving all of my weddings to next year, I still have all that work to do next year. I can't add more and still be able to sustain life, right? So we're seeing it. It's not even like we're deferring our income. We're either losing it this year or we're losing it next year, but at some point we're losing it because we can't double up. And I think it's that way in a lot of cases with tourism and resorts. But I have to shout out to Airbnb and to I say even to, not in a bad way, but Deerhurst and Blue Mountain, because they were where I was staying for all of our dance competitions. And Airbnb is known, I think, a lot of times that people have said a no refund policy or credit only or that kind of thing. And it was absolutely no drama at all for me to get the cash back on my credit card. And Blue Mountain automatically canceled our reservation. I didn't even have to call them, and refunded my card. And Deerhurst was handing out credits for the first kind of section that we had to cancel. And then since then, they've been handing out refunds going, yeah, we get it. We can't even be open at this time. So it's been a lot less hassle than a lot of us expected. And it was the same way, not travel related, but the wedding industry, the same thing. When my clients were like, what am I going to do? How do I postpone it? I'm like, we are all in the same boat. And everyone knows that people aren't canceling these things because they ran out of money or they changed their mind or someone's got a nose tickle. Like, it's a global pandemic. It can't be helped. And thankfully, in my experience so far, the businesses have been very supportive and helpful with making those changes, and whether it's rescheduling or canceling altogether, or, like you say, getting credits, because the reality is, at least a credit is still, like Steph, you travel all the time. So at some point you're going to have that opportunity to use that credit. We said the same thing, that at some point, if we had to be left with a credit at one of the resorts, well, we know we'll be there again and we'll use that credit. So at least there's that. We just don't know when anyone's going to be able to use any of this stuff.
Airbnb
Right.
has been good because I have got I get all their newsletters because I am a host with Airbnb. So I'm getting a lot of the information. One of the things I noticed, though, is I feel like they are so flexible now with the travelers that the hosts we don't have the same freedom to decide or not. So there's still always a penalty if you cancel your Airbnb, you don't get penalized. If I cancel your Airbnb for whatever reason, I get penalized. And that has not changed.
That's interesting, because when I spoke to the Airbnb owner that I was working with, and she told me, she said, go and request a refund.
Yes, you have to do it
through the site so you can get yours. But at the same time, there was notification about there being a COVID relief fund where Airbnb was covering some of those cancellation fees, so that neither my host nor myself were responsible for any fees. So it's interesting that that's an issue. Because according to what the notification I got, they were covering those cancellation fees.
So it has to do with, so there's a setting on Airbnb called instant booking. So I had an issue. I was actually on the call with their tech support the other day because I couldn't turn mine off. So I've been trying, and I had it off for a little while, and it's because the Ontario government only allows me to rent to people who are traveling for COVID reasons. So I actually have to pre-screen people beforehand. But Airbnb doesn't make it easy for you to do that. Like before you say I don't want to do instant booking, they go through 5 screens of, are you sure you want to do this? Please check these boxes to acknowledge that you agree or know that you're going to miss out on these opportunities. Like there's these constant like drip, drip, drip. So you finally say, no, please turn it off. And then you go back to my screen and it says instant booking is on. I'm like, what? So I was trying it like I don't know, numerous times. And it turns out when I talked to the guy, he said it's because my website, because I'm tied to more than one travel hosting company. So I have Airbnb, I got VRBO, I have Expedia, and because there's, if I make changes on one, it changes on all. He said, if I turn off your instant booking, he said, it's going to take it off for everybody. And he said, you might lose bookings on those other platforms. And I said, okay. So but here's my problem in Ontario. Like this one guy booked.
Have any bookings?
Yeah, so this guy booked. I can if it's a COVID thing. So all of a sudden, because his instant booking came on, and I told him, I said, so this guy booked. So luckily he did have a reason. He was just coming for one night. He did have a reason. I said, but if I had to cancel him, I said, am I getting penalized? And the guy admitted to me on tech support, and he says, yeah, you should call before you cancel it to make sure you don't, so we can fix it on our end. So it's just because I had instant booking on, for me to cancel, I get penalized. And it's almost like a 3 strikes thing, where if you keep canceling on people, you have, all of a sudden, I can't be superhost status because people look for Airbnb locations based on superhost. So there's all these little qualifications. So it's just funny that it's only Ontario that has that restriction. So, but we don't, and as much as they keep reminding us that you can't do it, they don't have any kind of way for me to block or change and I even have a pre-booking message that shows up before you go hit the terms and conditions and sign. People are still doing it anyways. And there's people on Expedia, the Expedia site that booked. One of them was for a couple weeks from now, and then actually for this weekend, I laughed. I said someone's probably just going to come and hang out for the long weekend. And then another one was for later in June or early July or something. And I had a standard like cut and paste that I do now, like, hi, the Ontario government has been asking us to log in all the reasons for that because we're not supposed to be accepting any bookings unless it's for COVID reasons. Hotels don't have the same They didn't even answer my messages and just canceled. So obviously there's people traveling for regular leisure travel, obviously. Because they didn't even answer saying I'm traveling for work. They didn't answer saying anything else. It was just, they canceled.
Don't get me started. I don't know. I'm going to go off like book. I haven't seen our agenda for today.
Yep.
Can we talk a little bit about some of the virtual travel opportunities that are out there? Because there's some really cool shit happening.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think
yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Okay.
I know I just actually posted on Facebook, guys. Cats is going to be streaming free.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's been streaming all of his musicals. Yeah, all of them. So we've seen Joseph. We've seen, what's the one after Phantom? We watched Phantom. We watched the Private Lives is the other one. We watched Jesus Christ Superstar, and I'm very excited to see Cats this weekend because I've never seen an actual production of Cats.
Oh, no, I have. I've seen a lot of his stuff, and I love it, but I actually enjoy as well. You can go through all the art galleries. And
yeah, that's cool.
And so, I mean, I love that kind of stuff when I travel anyways. I'm very historical based and stuff. I want to learn stuff and I want to see stuff. And I find that seeing this stuff, I'm like, oh, that's where I saw that, or, it's still the same way, or that's exactly where I was, that's the picture I took. And it's kind of neat. You can walk through some of the areas in Italy where all the shopping is, and you can walk through and see where the stores are. Oh, I shopped in that store. I know it sounds weird, but it brings back the memories in the moment where we can't go. I mean, it's like, why not, right?
Well, if you guys have links for all those things, can you send them to me and I'll put them in the show notes for everybody, please?
Absolutely.
I already loved Google's Street View. That was already one of my favorite kind of things to go and play on because I'm a nerd who can't afford to travel. So I can go and go, like I'll go to my old neighborhood back in Australia and look around and see what's changed and that kind of thing. Or go to Lone Pine and look at see how my kangaroos and koalas are doing. But they've got a bigger expanded section now in Google, and I'd have to double check what the link is. But it's along the line of, tour Google or whatever, museums Google. And you can actually go in. So I went in and I looked at the Museum of Queensland and the MoMA, Museum of Modern Art in Queensland, like those different museums I'd been to. Well, I got to go and tour them again. So there was a lot of really cool things like that just going to Google has that, for educational purposes as well. Before the kids went back to school, I would take the kids through a couple of those just to be able to see and explore something that's different. I know that they're in school and they've got homework. It's a whole other ballgame. But when they didn't have work to do, it was a fun thing to do with them. So I love that things have gone virtual and that people are finding different ways to do things. And that's one way. I mean, it's not income generating, unfortunately, for a lot of the tourism destinations. And I'm not going to lie. I think there's been an expectation set that these things are free, which is really actually makes me a little bit sad. I mean, they couldn't charge $1 for people to go through a tour, to donate to, say some of these zoos that are doing animal preservation and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's a whole other kind of thing. I get it and I don't get it, and I get it and I don't get it for a number of reasons. But the expectation is that now they're free. And we're talking that's not travel related, but, online parties, people are getting together playing games online, they're playing cards online. We've got painting classes and bartending classes and all these things that are happening virtually that weren't happening before. But there's a lot of really cool things you can do, like learn about culture of another country in a wine class. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
But those kinds of things are real, and they're really cool opportunities that we can take advantage of. And I look at it as twofold. One is to support businesses that, are looking to find creative ways to make money, and two is to experience things you might not normally be able to experience. It all came, in my world because as an event planner, I didn't even think about putting together birthday parties until I had someone ask me, because I've been teaching painting. I had to make up my wedding income somehow, so I've been teaching painting classes online. And I had people reach out. Now I'm offering birthday parties for kids to paint virtually on Zoom and that kind of thing. So there's different ways you can experience things in life that you might not have with these borders being closed and things being different. So as much as there's a lot of doom and gloom and things we can't do, there's some really cool things we can do now. And I think that's definitely worth talking about.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. You said you're armchair traveling, right? Is that the right? Armchair traveling.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I had a colleague at my day job when we were in training, and I thought he was insane because we're talking about how I love travel and the like. And this guy's like, he got a 3D virtual reality goggle thing to work with his computer. And he's like, I spent the $2,000 on this because I can travel the world and never leave my armchair. And I'm like, but that's so sad to me. But now I look at it now, and that kid's a freaking genius because he's got it all set up to tour the world, and it's all set up for him, So, but it's it is a viable option for those who are. My biggest thing is this morning I looked at Mark, and I was like, I need the ocean. I figured I've been so antsy, and I usually get to see the ocean once a year, like not very often, once every 2 years if it's a stretch. But I've been antsy and unsettled, and like walking around the house, and even going outside isn't helping me. And I'm like, I need the ocean. But at that point, it's been 2 years since I saw the ocean. I need it again.
Yep.
And that was an interesting, almost kind of realization to go, oh, and it's like not even like I live. I'm like, why won't you send me to the ocean? Oh yeah, it's got nothing to do with money this time. Literally, just can't go. So it's an interesting kind of observation. And there may be people like that, like Stacy, like you say, you need to travel, a few times a year just to kind of rejuvenate and re-energize, right? Stephanie needs to get her stock, and it's a little harder to get some of those things if you're not traveling there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm glad I went to China when I went to China. I'll never go back to China.
Yes, me too. I went to China. Yes, I was thinking about that the other day too. We were talking about this. We were there, and I went, okay, been there. I was always talking about saying I'd like to go back to Shanghai at some point, but like on my own, like without a group trip, but not for a while. Okay, there's only one other thing I thought was cool. I'll just talk about this, and then I want to talk about insurance because it's boring, but at least we'll talk about that so people who like information. So there's one thing. So I found out there's this new concept out there which is very smart. And it is the concept of hotel bonds. Meaning, there's hotels mostly in Europe, but a lot in the UK, who are selling these things. Sometimes it's bigger chains, sometimes it's independents. So you're basically paying, like if you buy £100, like almost like a gift certificate, basically a bond, might get, it's going to increase in value for the time that eventually that you're going to end up using it. So you may pay $100 now, which helps the hotel now, but then that $100 may turn to $150 by a certain date if you use it later, right? So the longer you leave the money with them, they're paying you. So there's a couple of links, I'll put them in the show notes. One of the websites is called Buy Now, Stay Later, which that was cool. And then there's another one just called Hotel Credits. So if you look those two things up, then if there's a hotel or something you do have to go travel for work or travel whatever, or you know that, hey, I'm going to go to this particular city once I do get to travel again, it helps out that community and it helps out that hotel to stay in business longer by they just donate a little bit of money. It's just like when you say you want to buy gift certificates from a restaurant that you know you're going to use at a later date. You're helping them now knowing you use it, but the difference is you're buying it now and it might increase in value later on.
But I think it's almost a great gift item.
It is.
Buy a gift for someone, $100 hotel credit, so
Yep.
they can use it at the hotel, or they can keep it and see it increase in value. I mean, it's like that's how our company does our bonuses. We don't get cash bonuses. We get basically share units, and they're issued to us at the price that they are, like the day it's issued, and then they vest over the next 3 years. So, like you guys know what my day job is, who I work for in the daytime, and know how their stock is going right now. 'Cause it's all across.
Everyone knows.
You know what I mean? So, like I have stock shares that have literally they're increased 10 times their value. Yeah, 10. So it's like 10 times 100. Yeah, so 10 times their value since they were issued. That's great. I mean, not every stock performs like that. These bonds won't perform like that, but it's a better value in a gift at that regard, because if they do go up in value, I mean, they shouldn't lose value. They should, because they're basically like a gift card kind of thing. I think it's a cool idea.
I think it's a cool idea. So it might be that maybe because hotels are doing that, it might be something that because they know that they're hit hard, maybe airlines will start to do things like that where you can buy vouchers for a particular airline, and maybe some other tourism operators, things like museums, zoos, that kind of thing, that may know that they're going to have difficulty, concert venues, right? Arenas, places where they know it's going to be a year or two before you get to go and experience or be in their venue. So I think I like the idea of the bond. I like the idea of the whole bond style of investment into these businesses. It benefits, everyone wins, right? Which I think is smart. A couple of things. So this is going to be my segue into insurance. Expedia is selling a new style insurance called a vacation waiver. So you buy a vacation waiver, and then if and when you have to change or cancel or whatever, basically, like it's like a no questions asked fee. So I'm assuming it is just their branded version of that cancel for any reason kind of thing. I'm guessing. Is that the same thing you think?
I would agree. It is, because different providers have different names. Like there's a CareFlex, there's an Air Canada version. I know Air Transat has one. I think it's called CareFlex, but they all work around the same aspect. And guys, I'm a big proponent. We've talked about this in other shows. If you're going to book a trip and you're going to book like your most amazing full-on trip and you're going on a cruise in Northern Europe and stuff, invest your investment. Like you want to insure your investment. And the thing is, it might cost you $500 more, but the reality is cancel it at any time, refund fully. If you get hurt, you can't get on it up until like 12 hours before that flight to get out, you're insured. If you have to drive from wherever you were located to the airport, you're insured. If you get into an accident and you're unable to get on that flight, all your money is given back. So it's interesting. We were talking earlier, and again, back to that link that I was talking about, Tico, about air flights and stuff. There's a question about what do I do if I have a flight that I need to cancel? It talks about how to do it. Some people are saying that some flights and some providers are asking you to pay. It's not in a lot of in Ontario. If you've booked with an Ontario agent, there is no fee to rebook. And I had a friend who reached out to me right away, and she said, I transferred money to book a package.
Yikes.
What do I do? And he said, did you get your And I said, did you have an agent? Because I'm always a proponent. Hey, do you have an agent? And she's like, no, I did it online. And I said, absolutely. I said, I do it online sometimes. And I hope no one of my colleagues are listening. Sorry, Transit, I apologize. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I said to her, you didn't. Okay, so what's the fine print? Go back into your fine print that you should have printed when you agreed to actually print. And the thing is, people go, oh, I don't need to worry about it. I'm going on a trip. And people get excited. But the thing is, we have a set, this is what you have to ask. These are the questions. And people get really bored because they're booking their dream trip, once a year or once every 10 years. And it's like, no, you need to listen to this. If you say yes, go for it. And, bringing it back to insurance, and if I'm long-winded, just cut me out.
No.
But the thing is,
I want to hear this stuff.
The one thing that happened just before, and it might have been the week after you came back. It was about the week. One of my girlfriends left, not a girlfriend, but a client who happens to be someone I know, said to me, well, we bought this from you. What about it? And I said, well, you have no insurance. You bought no insurance. If you leave this country and decide to make that choice, if you get called back halfway through the week because the borders are closing, you got nothing. If you decide now, pre-Saturday to cancel, we can give you a voucher. They decided to go. They got called back, similar to what your decision with Form was, and they lost everything. And they're like, now they're in this huge thing about, because I booked it for them. They're like, well, you're a horrible. And I'm like, no, actually, I am not. And I said, I gave you the sign up, and air travel agents everywhere are getting this right now. It's our fault because people didn't want to invest that extra $200-$300 in insurance. And I'm like, the first thing off the bat, I said, so if you're investing that, does that include your insurance? You want to spend, $1,500 per person or $2,500 per person at an all-inclusive 5-star, or you want to go on a cruise for $5,000 each. Great. Is that your budget, including the insurance to cover this? And that's my first question, right? And that's a sales question, of course, because I make more on insurance than I do on my trip. But the thing is that at the end of the day, it insures your investment. Correct. But people are angry right now, extremely angry.
Well, they're angry and frustrated. It's also because they don't like being told no. A lot of people save up to go on these big trips. And then my other thought is that when they came back halfway through, were they arguing that they should have got their entire value of their whole trip back? Is that what they were asking for? No. Yes. That would be like Norm and I. So I got my flight there. I got my flight home. The only thing that I missed out on was probably 3 days or whatever at that resort. But even the resort, we had paid for an upgrade to a room when we got there. They gave us the upgrade portion back as a refund at the resort, which was nice. But I would never go home and say, well, I missed 3 days. I want my money back for those 3 days, because it's not the hotel's fault, right? The resort's fault. It's not their fault. The airline provided the flight there and back. They just gave me a choice of when I wanted to come home. So I don't understand where they would think that you or someone else had to compensate them. You know what I mean?
So, Stephanie, you're a reasonable person, though. You're leaving that direct. And I'm the one who's going to say it like it is. And people are expecting shit like that, and your friends don't sound like great friends if they're holding you accountable for a decision they made. The issue is, I know they're clients, but the issue is that you offered them insurance, and you said these are your results of not choosing to take advantage of the insurance. I know because I book all of my Canada travel myself. I go in, I go to whatever the cheapest place is to find it, Airbnb, whatever. I do my thing. But if I'm going international, I'm calling Stacy, and I'm taking whatever her advice is, and I'm following it, because she knows her shit and she knows what she's doing. I know I could go and book a cruise. I could go and book a flight. I'm capable. But by working with a professional, you're getting that advice. Now, if I choose to ignore Stacy's advice, that's on me. That's not on her. She provided the advice.
And more importantly, absolutely, and thank you for the plug. And
we're just full of shameful plugs today.
It makes a lot of money off me. I always travel internationally once every 5 to 10 years. But, when I do, it's a cheap-ass trip to boot. But no, but it's that matter of recognizing your own responsibility, your own culpability, right? And I think that's what we have to understand as consumers. You know, consumers have more access to education about things than they ever had before. They have more access to information. If they choose to ignore that information, they choose to ignore that advice, then yeah, they're probably embarrassed as fuck right now because they didn't take the advice and it burned them. And it's like, you know, maybe you've learned for next time, but you can't take it out on the messenger. You know, you could, but you're just being a dick at that point.
And you can't, because there's a reason why we say, please sign if you come in person, or even if you do it online. As an agent, you send over and say, there's a box, I decline insurance. And before they sign it, we say, let me read this out. No. It's part of our license. We have to actually read. We do the bouncing ball on and trust me, it's a long paragraph, but so if you're declining, this is exactly what it means when you decline.
Yep.
I mean, I say it all the time to people, and I know it's expensive, but if you're planning and you're save as well as an extra $300 to $500, depending on the trip you're taking, to cover that. Cancel at any time so that you will get a full refund on your credit card, and as well as your credit card insurance. Make sure you know what that covers.
Yep.
People, I thought, you didn't think right because you didn't go back into that beautiful, long 17-page thing with tiny words that no one can see. Seriously, no one can see that shit. And the thing is, at the end of the day, it's sort of like, find out what exactly your credit card is actually covering you for. It doesn't mean you're getting all your money back. It doesn't mean you're getting all of the stuff that you think you're getting. You're better off to have a double dip, pay for it. So yeah, you got this for free for your yearly fee of $150, but that does not cover, and there's yearly insurance. If you travel, I get it every year.
So do I. I have mine's tied through my credit card, but it's not the default one. Like, we have a package we buy through and we renew it every April. And it's just, it's cheaper for us. It doesn't matter where we're going. We always have it covered, right?
And I always try to say to people, do you go to the country more than twice? Because if you go to the country more than twice, one trip is about $250 per person. Sometimes, depending on what you're covering and what kind of trip, could be upwards to more. So if you get a full insurance yearly amount, it might come up to about $600-700. I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you're covering. At the end of the day, and that's high end. Like, that's a pretty expensive package. But think about it. If you travel every single month, whether it's for business or for pleasure, if your luggage gets lost, that covers it.
Yeah.
It's not your company that covers it. It's you that covers it. It's not your credit card. It's that. And it's well worth it because, sometimes luggage is over $200. That's one trip allotment right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you need all your necessities and stuff, and they cover that within X amount, depending on X amount of time that your luggage is gone. And I always say, so what happens if your luggage doesn't arrive? You have your carry-on, and I mean, a lot of us carry everything on our carry-on. But the reality is that what if you have a family of like 5? You can't expect everybody to have everything. You land, none of the luggage is there, except your carry-on.
Underwear, spare leggings, and deodorant, and a toothbrush. When you got a family, that's what you got.
But as long as you have a bathing suit to cover up, 2 change of clothes and all that jazz, and we've had this show before, but at the end of the day, I really think it really strings into and ties into this whole concept of insurance. And I'm glad you brought it up because this is the reason why people are angry. They did not buy into it, and they're upset of themselves not to have invested into it. They're not upset at us, and it's not something that I take personally. I don't, because I hear it all the time. Well, I told you what insurance covered, and unfortunately that's what happens. Yeah.
So
I need to point out this will be on the video most likely, but do you see the suckiness happening in my window right now?
Yeah.
And do you see her pig?
Where's her pig? Where is she? Penelope
Rebecca. Yeah, for those of you who don't on social media, our mascot has a name now. Her name is Penelope Rebecca.
Hold her up. I can't see her. You're cut off for me. There she is, Penelope Rebecca.
I like Penelope Rebecca. That's very cute.
There we go.
There she is. There she is. I'm going to be on a lookout for flying pigs, everything now.
Maybe that's why Rory looks so sad, ladies, because she's been replaced as our mascot. Look at her. Look at the depression in her face.
So I think we should have, and next time we have any kind of new t-shirts or gear made, we should get a graphic or a little silhouette of Penelope Rebecca to add to our logo, right?
I think I haven't started working on that.
The one thing I'm going to do, just to sort of close that off, I'm going to put the link to that insurance show that we did earlier. So this way, in case there's any little topics we missed, people want to learn more about the insurance stuff and that part of the travel insurance industry, they can go to that show, and that'll be in the show notes.
And I also sent you a link as well about insurance as well.
Okay.
Since we're talking. Yeah.
Okay, very good. We haven't done a what you're drinking lately, and I wanted to give this wine
I'd love to share what I'm drinking.
I'd like to give a little wine shout out, Toro Bravo. One of the reasons is because it was the only white wine that I had in my fridge here at the bar that's not in inventory that I have to worry about. And it's because this is the white wine I was doing for these private little classes that I was doing for Norm's clients and guests. He was doing these little private virtual classes things for people. And when I first chose this wine, he was kind of looking at me. He goes, "Are you sure? Like, you sure you don't want to do this? You sure you want to do that?" You know why? Because it's $8.15. So he was so worried that people were going to think he was cheap.
Doesn't fit his prestige.
But I said, but you're buying it for them. They don't know until they go back the next time, right? They're going to have tasted it already. But anyways, one of the reasons I like it, so it's from La Mancha in Spain. So Verdejo is the main grape. It's a Verdejo Sauvignon Blanc blend. It's very dry. And because we happen to be, all three of us happen to be fans of things that are vinegary, pickles, that kind of thing. So things like pickled vegetables, strong flavored stuff like a Caesar salad dressing, right? Like we had like roasted.
All of our dill pickle themed
Yes.
items available.
So it can handle. So I actually paired this with those, the marinated asparagus you get in the jars. So I had marinated asparagus, I had marinated mushrooms, and I had a little bit of pickled vegetables. And it was on these platter kits that I sent out. And I never send that kind of stuff out, right? So of course people are kind of looking like, why aren't you sending me these pickled vegetables? And I said, no, you should try the wine. Everyone was like puckering, especially if they're not wine drinkers. And then I said, now have these like marinated pickled vegetables and then try the wine again. I'm like, oh, all of a sudden, like even the ones who are not white wine drinkers, they really loved it. And I said, this can be a really easy go-to for salads. Because salads are usually, especially any salads that have a good vinaigrette to them, even a green goddess or something like that, it can stand up to it because it's almost got that grapefruit, lime zest, like it's that bittery notes to it, so it can handle it, right? Which is kind of cool. So anyways, that's my little shout out. It's my $8 wine. For all you.
What's it called?
Toro Bravo. So it's called Toro Bravo from La Mancha in Spain, and it's in the Spanish section of the LCBO. I'll have the link in the show notes. But yeah, $8.15.
Nice.
So I learned a thing about pairing this morning, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I'm that person who doesn't really follow traditional food conventions, and I had homemade lasagna for breakfast this morning.
Good for you.
And it was very good. But I paired it with grape juice because it was the morning and I was drinking grape juice. So my comments to all my friends were that
I suddenly have a headache.
Not quite the same as red wine and lasagna. So grape juice and red wine, not the same pairing.
It's not. Okay, so you know what? That's like the biggest eye opener. It'd be a good outtake. So grape juice and red wine are not the same thing.
Not the same. It's a community announcement. I can't think of what it's called. Like a community service announcement. Grape juice and red wine do not pair the same.
You know what? So there's an old
Don't try to have grape juice with your lasagna in the morning. Just go straight to the red wine.
Wasn't it NBC that used to have this old tagline? The more you know.
Useless. What was it?
Stacy's useless facts.
So we'll talk about pairing. I do one more thing. We're going to have to cut this back, but while I think of it. Okay. So there's been a serious shortage of KD in the grocery stores.
There has been.
I actually heard that
I've been getting wine.
Walmart's
Kraft Dinner, whoever makes Kraft Dinner, I can't remember right now, Kraft has actually, they were like a 12-hour operation. They actually had to double their production and throw in a night shift to keep up with demand for Kraft Dinner. And all I could think was, oh God, it's got to be almost 2 years ago now. One of my first, what the actual fucks? With the big tub of 180 servings of craft dinner.
It was not craft dinner though. Remember? It was shelf-stable mac and cheese. Not the same thing. Don't knock craft dinner like that.
I need to eat a little bit of crow, so like I'll eat my dog or something, because there is apparently a need for that shelf-stable 180 portions. It's called COVID-19.
COVID-19. Disgusting. But I noticed that, so at Walmart, Walmart had, their shelves were full when I was there the other day, but I bought one of the vegetable ones to try. That's supposed to be it's made out of cauliflower in the pasta. I tried it. It was okay. Because every once in a while I get a craving for it, and I haven't had the brand. Like, remember I told you I've been eating the organic, blah, 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 whatever once in a while. And I bought those little single-serve cups to try them, like for the microwave. No, it's not the same.
Mark went for Katie, and he bought the deluxe mac and cheese. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not eating that. And that's basically what the bucket was. It was like the sauce with and it was not good. He's like, it was edible, but it was no Katie.
It was like Velveeta and shells. No.
Exactly. Exactly. What are you thinking, Stacy?
I'm thinking. I keep thinking about so much. It's funny. I'm like that, right, guys? I sit there and I keep quiet, and then all of a sudden I keep the little notes, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to talk about that. But you were talking about homemade lasagna for breakfast. The COVID best breakfast I've had is my homemade apple pie, because I'm like, you know what? Why not? And I can't say I've paired it, but I did look at the white that was sitting there in the fridge, and I'm like, can I do it? Should I do it? No, it's before 11, but
breakfast.
So you make a terrible dance mom, my friend. If you have to ask if it's too early to drink, you could not be a dance mom.
Breakfast wine.
We have actually, so I'm going to share real quick what I'm drinking, because it ties into my next story. So I call this my mama size. This is not how much you should be drinking in a martini. This is a martini. But local drinking establishment, local speakeasy, the Alibi Room, is selling cocktail kits.
My neighbor.
So, yeah, and so Kyle's did a fantabulous job, because I'm a cocktail queen in my house, but I don't match what Dan and Kyle put together. So anyway, so this is a vanilla espresso martini, and the mix itself was $10. It was super reasonable, and they pair it with vodka if you want. I paired it with vodka from Almonte.
Oh.
Because I love the creaminess that the vodka brings. That's the vodka that's milk based instead of like potato or whatever else based. And so anyways, so I was going to talk about that. So that's what I'm drinking. I'm drinking my Alibi Room vanilla espresso martini. But a couple weeks back was a competition weekend, and I actually delivered. Caleb and I drove around the city to a bunch of my dance mom friends, and we dropped off our morning espresso martinis, which we normally have on a Saturday morning of competition seasons, because Saturdays were usually our longest days. And so we had it like in the back of the vehicle, whatever, in a Tupperware sealed container, and I'd go from house to house, and I'd call them saying, come, put your martini glass out on the front step, and I'll dump in espresso martinis for you. And I will tell you, it was definitely before 11 a.m. when I did that. And at dance competition morning, the studio owners has become a friend of mine. And every Saturday morning competition, I make sure that when the first dancers are dancing, usually between 8 and 8:30, she gets her espresso martini so she can get through the day. And my son laughed. He's like, Mom, I've only ever heard Miss Megan be like, oh my God, thank you so much. Oh, you're my hero. When you give her alcohol, Mom, that's all I have to say.
Funny, it's funny because the other day I actually reached out to, I have a great relationship with my manager at work, and he's been keeping in touch with all of us who've been, temporarily laid off. And I said to him, I reached out to a customer, and I said, just because this was a very important build for me, and I had to do it because I was walking around doing it. And he said, I really appreciate what you're doing, but I would have figured you were doing a wine lunch at this stage, because I'm like, okay, you know what? It's okay. Why are you doing sales calls when you should be doing wine lunches?
There's a meme going around about COVID, and it says that everyone's going to come out of this quarantine either hunky, chunky, or drunky. And I've gone, chunky and drunky are covered.
We all do.
I got some of my little moo things in, and it's funny because they're like, right? So I'll get out of the hot tub and then I'll just put them on, and then sometimes I'll have to do like a Skype thing with my mom, and she'll say, "Oh, you put a nice little sundress on." Sure, you can call it a sundress all you want.
When it's bigger than a size medium, it's not a little sundress anymore.
It's it's got elastic.
Her.
It is pulled in at the waist a little bit. It's not one of those. It's not an A-line tent thing, but it's just like these really loose sundress type things that I can kind of just like throw on, and then especially when it's too early to put pajamas on, because in case someone's going to see you, right? So at least I can have a couple of those. But it's been like I'm just waiting for it. We're supposed to get warm weather finally again, because I said every time I try to put away winter stuff, right? I had to take out the goddamn boots last weekend. I know. Okay, I have to. I gotta have to sign off soon. I got too much stuff to do. I have another day. I got a class tomorrow night, and I got people checking in upstairs on Friday. And Alex is coming in to do a bunch of stuff in the next 2 days, getting POS systems up and technology. Anyways, we're working like crazy people over here, but there's always wine, right? There's always wine. Anyways, thanks for our bi-weekly drink session.
Cheers, guys.
I think we'll be able to very soon. I'm just waiting. I'm assuming in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to do this in person again soon. I'm hoping so. And then I think we should make a pact now that when the day comes that we're allowed to, because it can say we can gather in small groups or whatever else, that we can sit in here and tape the show together. I am so making a big thing of sangria. We're gonna do that right.
We have to have our own ends of the bar. Steph can have the middle. I'll take my corner on one side. Stacy can have the corner on the other side.
Because I was going to launch it around this time of year anyways here at the bar, and it's not something I can sell for delivery or takeout, right? So I'm itching to make it. So
yeah, I know. I was excited. I'm drinking what's called Peely Pink.
Peely Pink from Peely Island.
Yes.
What is it? Pink. What? I can only see the pink.
Peely Pink.
Oh, Peely. Yes.
And I have to give a shout out to one of our followers. They introduced it to me.
Oh, nice.
And his name's Jamie Jones, and he actually said, try this. And I tried it. And you know what? At the end of the day, I was like, I really like this as a rosé. I'm like, I like it. So you know what? Peely Pink.
Peely Pink. Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes too, so that everyone else can choose their repertoire for the long weekend.
Poison.
Alrighty.
Poison.
Okay, and your closing, Stacy.
Always remember to like, share, and subscribe to all of our podcasts and YouTube things and Facebook pages. We love you guys.
Cheers. Bye. Have a great weekend, ladies. Thanks so much for watching this video. We love putting it together. It's so much fun. All of our favorite things, good food, good drinks, a lot of travel talk, and we put it all together in one fun show. So make sure you follow us here, click on the videos below, follow, subscribe, and find us on your favorite podcast player. We'll see you on our next trip.